The topic is converting percents to decimals review. The essential question is, can you convert percentages to decimals in order to solve problems? So we have two columns right here, and the first column shows just a bunch of percents, except these blank ones. And then the second column shows some blanks and then a decimal and then another decimal, okay? And I've written in over here, and I want you to do this also, the word fraction, okay? So I see 12% right there, and I'm going to show you how to convert it to a decimal, but before that, I want to relate it to how 12% is as a fraction. So let's say you had a test, and it was a 100-point test. If you got 12% on it, how many did you get correct? You would have gotten 12 points correct out of the 100 possible. That would be its fraction, 12 hundredths. Okay? And then what would be this 5% as a fraction? That would be 5 out of 100. Okay? Percents are going to be out of 100. Right here, 10.7 out of 100. And I'm kind of staggering it so it doesn't look all jumbled, all right? And then this one right here, 2.4, 2 4/10 out of 100. Right here, 123 out of 100. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop right there for now, okay? So I hope you are seeing the relationship between these fractions and percents. Now, to go from a fraction to a decimal, which is easiest for me, is I just go, you go top divided by bottom. Numerator divided by denominator. So let's go 12 divided by 100. Oh, it's 12 hundredths. Oh, that's 12 hundredths. 12 hundredths, 12 hundredths. See how it's so important to say it correctly? So as a decimal, 12% looks like this. Okay? So why don't you say this one out loud correctly? Say it. 5 hundredths. Okay? So my decimal, well, that's a tenths place. That's a hundredths place. The next one is, so I'm going to put a 5 there. 5 hundredths. And if that didn't quite make sense to you, just go 5 divided by 100, okay? Ta-da! Okay, I think this one might cause a little bit of confusion for some people, so I'll go ahead and just do it on the calculator to show you. 10 and 7 tenths divided by 100 is this, 107 thousandths. Okay? So if I went like this, 107 thousandths, if I took top divided by bottom, since this is equal to this, which is equal to this, it will equal this, okay? So 107 divided by 1,000. Ta-da! It's that, okay? All right, 2 4/10 divided by 100. Try to do that one on your own. Oops, obviously your teacher's getting it wrong. Okay, 2 4 divided by 100. There you go. 24 thousandths. That's the tenths place. And you want to say 24, and it ends in the thousandths place. So 24, say the number, and then the place value, 24 thousandths. Okay? 123 hundredths. So 123 divided by 100. 100. 1 23 hundredths. Okay, and if you're curious, well, how does that match that? Like this, watch. So, I'm going to turn this it's an improper fraction right now. I'm going to turn it into a mixed number. So, 123, gosh, how many times does 100 fit into 123? Well, one whole time. And how many are left over? Well, 23 are left over out of that 100. Keep that same denominator, okay? So, look at 100 times 1 is 100, plus 23 is 123. Keep the same denominator, 123 hundredths. So this equals this, which equals this, which equals this. Okay? Now, I want you to take a second and examine just between the percents and decimals. Gosh, what did you do to get this decimal? And a hint that I'm going to tell you is, if you see a percentage and you don't see a decimal right there, I want to tell you where the decimal is if there is not already a decimal. The decimal will always be right behind it like that, but we're just so lazy to write it. Nobody really ever does that, okay? So So right here, that 5 doesn't already have a decimal, so let's put one there. This right here, 10 and 7 tenths% already has a decimal, so don't you dare put one there. It only gets 1, okay? Oh, already got one. Oh, doesn't have one. Or kind of. There we go. Okay? So look, what did we do to go from here to here? What happened to the decimal? Okay, I'm going to tell you. We moved it 2 to the left. 1, 2. And we put it right there, okay? See how we moved it? 1, 2. And you're like, oh, there's an empty spot. Let's put a 0 there. So we want the decimal there, 0.05. Ta-da! 1, 2. Okay, and that is a matching right there. 1, 2. And I'll tell you in just a second why this worked, okay? So you put a 0 there. 1, 2. Ta-da! So you put the decimal right there, okay? So here's a fun fact. If you ever want to divide a number by 10, you just move the decimal place 1 to the left, okay? So for some reason, if I want to go 50 divided by 10, okay? All I would do, you know, the decimal's right there on that, I would just go 1 to the left. So it'd be 5. Let's double check me, okay? 50 divided by 10 should be 5. Oh, it is cool. How about 450 divided by 10? Well, where's the decimal whenever you have a plain number? 1, move it 1 to the left. That was dividing by 10. 450 divided by 10 would be 45 because I put the decimal there. Okay? 450 divided by 10 is that. Look, it matches. Okay? So really though, if I moved it just 1 to the left, that would totally be dividing by 10. So if I went, hey, 12 divided by 10, go 1 to the left, it'd be 1.2, 1 and 2 tenths. That says 1.2, sorry. So 12 divided by 10. Oh, look, it's the same thing. Okay, so what do you suppose I'm dividing by when I move it 2 to the left? So if I move it 1 to the left, it's dividing by 10. It's not dividing by 20 if you move it again. No, because we're a base 10 system. So if I move it 1 to the left, that's dividing by 10. If I move it another 1 to the left, that's dividing by 100. So if I want to go 12 divided by 100, I'm going to move the decimal place 2 places to the left. Hey, look, I'm dividing by 100. Isn't that what we did over here? 12 divided by 100? Cool. So 12 divided by 100. So the decimal is right there. So if I moved it 1 place right there and got 1.2, that would be 12 divided by 10. But I don't want to divide by 10. I want to divide by 100. So I'm going to move 1 more right there. So 12 divided by 100 is 0.12. 12 hundredths. Okay? Just like we got. 12 divided by 100. Did I multiply? Sorry. 12 divided by 100 is that. Just like we got. If I wanted to go 12 divided by 10, I would just go 1 to the left. And it is 1.2, just like we would have gotten if we would have put the decimal right there, okay? So to go from a percent to a decimal, you would just take that number and divide it by 100 to get this guy, just like what we did over here. See, we're dividing the numerator by the 100 denominator. So divide by 100. 5 divided by 100 gives you 0.05, 5 hundredths. 10.7 divided by 100 gives you 0.107, 107 thousandths. 2 and 4 tenths divided by 100, so divide, boom, boom, 2 to the left, gives you 0.024, 24 thousandths. 123 divided by 10, then divided by 100, you get, put the decimal there, 1.23. Okay? All right, here's where it might get a little bit weird because we don't have this value, but we do have the decimal. So if we went 2 little spaces to the left to get to the decimal, what do you suppose we have to do to go backwards? You got to move it back. So 12 hundredths as a percent, move it 2 little things to the right, and you get 12%. Right here, 2 to the right, you get the percent. Move the decimal 2 to the right, put it right there, 10.7%. 1, 2 to the right, get 2.4%. 2 to the right, put the decimal there and you get 123%. So right here I gotta go 1, 2 to the right to get 192 and 7 tenths. Don't forget your percent sign. okay? So to go from this way to that way, I had to multiply by 100. To double check, you can divide this by 100 and you should get this exact same thing. 192.7 divided by 100. Ta-da! Same thing, okay? Let's go ahead. I want you to finish the rest of these right here, please. And please pause the video so you get your practice, okay? All right, here's what you do. You can divide it by 100, or you know dividing by 100 is moving it 2 to the left. Oh, 2 little empties. Put a little circles in there, put little zeros in there, and put a decimal there. So that's where it would go. 009. That is what it is as a decimal. And it always helps if you kind of erase it, you know, so the original doesn't look confusing. Okay. Okay. 74 hundredths percent. Boom, boom. 2 to the left. 0.074. Or again, you can divide that 0.9 divided by 100, that 0.74 divided by 100, you'll get the exact same thing. Because this right here as a fraction, 0.9 hundredths, 0.9 divided by 100 gives you that, okay? So right here is 0.74 hundredths. And then if you go 0.74 divided by 100, you get that. Okay, here divide by 100, so 2 to the left. Okay, this one, again, go backwards, try it on your own. So instead, you're going to take this value divided by 100, but to go the other way around, you're going to multiply by 100, okay? And you should get 46%. And if you're curious if you're right, do the little 1, 2 to the left, and you get 0.46 as a decimal, okay? Okay, for your summary, I want you to answer this question in your own words. How do you convert a percent to a decimal? And then I want you to complete these 3 examples right here. Convert these percents to their equivalent decimal. So what is 8% as a decimal? What's 80% as a decimal? And what's 800% as a decimal? So we've got some example problems or practice problems to do on the back. And I want to show you these little hints that I wrote down for you. So if you see the word increased, that's typically going to mean you're going to add something, okay? If something's marked up, then again, you're adding something. Something says reduced, then that's why you're going to subtract something. It would get smaller. That's why when I tell you to simplify a fraction, I say simplify. And I know in the past you might have heard the word reduce. But you know with fractions, if you simplify a fraction, they're going to be equivalent to each other. So I don't like when people say reduce because that implies something got smaller. When in fact, when you have equivalent fractions, it stays the same size. Anyway, if you see of, typically that means multiply in math. Okay? So number 1 says, what is 4% of 30? And when we're approaching this problem, you're going to see you have this 4% right there. And I've taught you that it's okay to take your 4% and convert it into a decimal. And I actually prefer that simply because it's kind of hard with some calculators. It's hard to find the percent button. But you know that 4% is what as a decimal. And if you're curious, if you don't remember, look at all the practice we had on the first page. Okay? So like it's kind of similar to 5%. Well, what do? You divided it by 100. 5 divided by 100 is 0.05. Or move the decimal 2 places to the left, filled it in. 0.05 would be your decimal, okay? So 4% is actually 0.04, 4 hundredths, okay? And then of typically means multiply. 4% of 30. That means multiply. So 0.04 times 30, you would get 1 2/10 as your answer. Okay? All right, here's where it gets a little bit more tricky. What is 30 increased by 4%? So I got to find out what 4% of 30 is first. Okay? 4% of 30. Well, wasn't that 1 2/10? Okay? So I got to take that 30 and increase it by 4%. Well, what was 4% of 30? Oh, 1 2/10. So 30 plus 1 2/10 is 31 2/10. Okay, if that didn't make any sense to you, please rewind the video and watch that again, okay? This is very important for the next things that we're going to be learning. You need to understand this. Okay, what is 30 reduced by 4%? Okay, so you know you start out with 30 and you're going to reduce it by 4% of 30. So let's find out what 4% of 30 is. think you already knew. 4% of 30, that is 1 2/10. And I got to reduce 30 by that 4%. That 1.2 is 4% of 30. So 30 minus 1 2/10 is 28 8/10. There's your answer. Okay. Now it says, what is 12% of 30? I don't have to like subtract anything or anything. I just need to know 12% of 30. So turn that to a decimal. Of 30. 0.12 times 30, 12 hundredths times 30 is 3 6/10. There's your answer. Okay? Now guess what? You're going to use that information to help you with the next two, I think. Okay. What is 30 marked up by 12%? So you know you have 30. You're going to mark it up by 12% of the 30. 12% of the 30. 12% of the 30 was 3 6/10. So I got to mark it up 3 6/10 because that was 12% of 30. And that would equal 33 6/10. Okay. What is 12% off of 30? So what was 12% of 30? That was 3 6/10. Remember, matched up there. And so we would go, we got to take 30 and then off of, I did not include that up there, but off of means subtract, okay? Like you've seen like sales, maybe like something costs $30 and it's 12% off. That's the same way. That's the way, same way of wording this. Minus 12% of 30, which was 3 6/10, minus that. And you would get 26 4/10. Okay. What is 2 5/10% of 30? So what I want you to do is, let's go ahead and convert that to a decimal. Remember, 1, 2, so the decimal will go right there. Fill in the empty and put the 2, 5 right there, okay? Of means multiply. So 0.025, so 25 thousandths times 30 is 0.75. That's your answer. I'm going to stop right here because I want you to complete the last two. Okay? What's an increase of 2 5/10% to 30? Okay? So if you're curious, look at the previous examples and I want you to figure it out. Then what is 30 decreased by 2.5%? Okay? You got this. Try hard, don't slack. Bye.